Hi students, how you doing? So today we're going to be talking about section 9.4. We're going to solve quadratic equations by factoring. So our objectives for today is to solve quadratic equations by factoring, and there's our standards. So let's review factoring. So remember, what we want to do here is see if we can take out any kind of GCF. So since we can't take out a GCF, what we're going to do here is look at our A value. So my A value is 1, so my factors of 1 are just 1 and 1. Then you look at your C value. Since your C value is negative, that means one sign's positive, one sign's negative. Alright, so now you look at 24. So you've got 1 and 1 and 24. You've got 2 and 12. You've got 3 and 8. And you've got 4 and 6. Now remember, you want negative 10. So the numbers that are going to give us negative 10 when you have a plus and a minus would be 12 and 2. So we need a negative 12 and a positive 2 to give us negative 10. Alright, number 2 here. Again, can't take out a GCF. So then my A value is 3, so our only options are 1 and 3. So I'll put the 3x here, put the 1x here. And then my only factors of 5 are 1 and 5. Now it's negative, so one's positive, one's negative, and we want a negative 2. So in order for that to happen, we need this to be a negative 5 over here and a positive 1 over here. Alright, number 3, we can take out a GCF of a 4x. So then we're left with x squared minus 9. But x squared minus 9 is a difference of squares. So when we factor that again, that's going to give me an x minus 3 and an x plus 3. And finally here on number 4, we can take out a GCF of a 4. So we're left with 16x squared plus 8x plus 1. And now we got a sum of squares here. So square root of 16x is going to give me 4x. We got a positive, so both my signs are whatever this is, so they're both positive. Square root of 1 is 1. Alright, we want to solve by graphing, so what we care about here is where it crosses the x-axis. So since my A value is positive 1, I know this is going to open up. So what we need to do here is we got to do x equals negative b over 2 times a to figure out the x value. So we're going to have a positive 6 over 2, which gives me positive 3. So the x value of my vertex is 3. That also tells me my axis symmetry is x equals 3. So now we're going to plug that back in to get the y value. So we got 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 8, and that's going to give me negative 1. So we're going to go to the right 3 down here at negative 1. And then for our xy chart, I always like to get closer to 0. So I'm going to plug in 2, 1, and 0. So when I plug in 2, that's going to give me 0. So we're going to go to the right 2 up to 0 and reflect it. When we plug in 1, we're going to get 3. So right 1 up to 3 and reflect it. And when you plug in 0, the x's go away, so we have 8. And reflect it. So since it said solve by graphing, all you care about where is across the x-axis. So it crosses the x-axis right here at 2. So we're going to have x equals 2 and across right here at 4. Alright, to find the solutions by factoring, so when we factor this, same thing we were going to do here. Your A value is 1, so we know we're going to have a 1x, we know we're going to have a 1x. And then 8, well you've got 1 and 8, and you've got 2 and 4. We want a negative 6, so you need a negative 2 and a negative 4. Set them equal to 0. So then we got x minus 2 equals 0, and we got x minus 4 equals 0. So my solutions here are positive 2 and positive 4. Alright, so review from last night. So if you had x squared minus 25 equals 0, you're going to add the 25, take the square root, so we get plus or minus 5. Same thing for your factor, we get plus or minus 5. So if the quadratic function has a b term, you cannot use the square root method. But if there is no b term, you can use the square root method. So we take a look here, we want to factor. So when I factor this is going to give me x minus 14, and this is going to be x plus 4. Set them equal to 0. So you got x minus 14 equals 0, and you got x plus 4 equals 0. So here we're going to get two answers, positive 14 and negative 4. Right here, no GCF, so when we factor it, that's going to give me a 3x plus 1 and an x plus 5. So you got 3x plus 1 equals 0, and x plus 5 equals 0. So subtract 1, divide by 3. So we got x equals negative 1/3 and negative 5 because you subtract the 5. Alright, number 8, we can factor out a 5 for the GCF. So then we're left with x squared minus 2x minus 8. So you've got 5 times the quantity of x minus 4 and x plus 2. So then you said everything equals 0, including the 5. So you got 5 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0, and x plus 2 equals 0. Well, does 5 equal 0? No. So then we're going to have x equals positive 4 and negative 2. Alright, number 9, we can take out a GCF of a 2x. So then we're left with x squared minus 5x minus 6. So keep factoring. So we're going to have x minus 6 and an x plus 1. So then we have 2x equals 0, x minus 6 equals 0, and x plus 1 equals 0. So here we divide by 2, so x equals 0 is one of our solutions. We add 6, so positive 6, and subtract 1. So my zeros are 0, 6, and negative 1. Alright, we gotta get everything on the same side. So we got x squared plus 30x plus 225 equals 0. So that's going to give me an x plus 15 and an x plus 15. So here we got x plus 15 equals 0 and x plus 15 equals 0. So x equals negative 15. You only have to write it once. Alright, let's get everything on the same side. So we got negative 16x cubed minus 80x squared minus 100x. And we can take out a GCF of a negative 4x. So then we're left with 4x squared plus 20x plus 25. So then we got negative 4x, and then we've got a 2x plus 5 and a 2x plus 5. So you got negative 4x equals 0, and since they're the same, it's just 2x plus 5 equals 0. Divide by negative 4, so x equals 0, subtract 5, so 2x equals negative 5, divide by 2, and negative 2.5. Or negative 5 halves if you leave it like that. Alright, get everything on the same side, so we got a 5x squared plus 25x equals 0. Take out a 5x. So then we're left with x plus 5 equals 0. So we got 5x equals 0 and x plus 5 equals 0. So x equals 0 and negative 5. Alright, here we can take out a 4x. So then we're left with x squared minus 25. So then we've got a 4x equals 0 and an x squared minus 25 equals 0. So here we got x equals 0, add the 25, square root, so x equals plus and minus 5, and the 0 from before. Alright, you decide to plant a bulb garden. The length of the rectangular garden is 3 feet longer than the width. So this is the width. This would be W plus 3 because it's 3 feet longer. And the bulbs you'll cover is 88 square feet. So that's your area. What should the length and width of your garden be? So area equals length times width. So you've got 88 equals W plus 3 times W. So here we're going to distribute. So we got 88 equals W squared plus 3W. Subtract the 88. So we got W squared plus 3W minus 88 equals 0. Then we're going to factor this. So this is going to give me W plus 11 and W minus 8. So W equals negative 11 and positive 8. Now remember, W equals the width, so the width can't be a negative answer, so only 8 works. So W equals 8, and then the length is W plus 3. So the length is going to be 8 plus 3, so the length is 11. So the width is 8, and the length is 11. Alright, rectangular garden with the length 3 times the width is to be expanded so that both the length and the width are increased by 5 yards. So the length is 3 times the width, and this is the width. So down here, this is going to be expanded by 5. So this is 3W plus 5, and then this is just W plus 5. The area is going to be 312 square feet. So same problem we did before. So we're going to have 3W plus 5 times the W plus 5 equals 312. So here we're going to FOIL. So when we FOIL, this gives me 3W squared plus 20W minus 287. Or plus 25 equals 312. Subtract the 312. So that gives me the 3W squared plus 20W minus 287. So then when we factor, we're going to get 3W plus 49 and W minus 7. So here, this is going to give me negative 49 thirds and positive 7. So only the positive 7 is going to work. We take the positive 7, plug it in right here. So that's going to give me 3 times 7, which is 21, plus 5, which gives me 26. So the length is 26, and the width is 7. And you want to find the area of this prism. I'm sorry, the area of the following prism is 36, well, it should be volume. So the volume of this is going to be 36 centimeters cubed. Find the value of x. So volume is length times width times height. So we got 36 equals the length, which is x minus 2, x plus 5, and 2. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to divide everything by 2. So we've got 18 equals, we're going to go ahead and FOIL that. So that's going to give me x squared plus 3x minus 10. Subtract the 18. So we got x squared plus 3x minus 28. Factor. So that gives me x plus 7, x minus 4. So x equals negative 7 and positive 4, so only positive 4 works. So if that's 4, that means this is going to be 4 plus 5, so that's going to give me 9. 4 minus 2 is going to give me 2. Alright, that's it for today.